The boss of Sky TV has ruled out giving away any more Sky shares to secure other sports rights after sealing the Sanzaar rugby deal with a 5% shareholding in the pay TV network for New Zealand Rugby. Sky won't say exactly how much it paid to get the 5-year contract that includes broadcast rights for rugby in New Zealand, including the Black Ferns and provincial games, but it describes it as, quote, a record investment, including the more than $18 million worth of shares. The announcement comes hot on the heels of the pay TV broadcaster losing out to Spark for some cricket rights and, of course, the current Rugby World Cup. Spark never got to throw its cheque in the ring for this rugby, though, because Sky got first dibs on negotiations as the incumbent rights holder. I sat down with Sky CEO Martin Stewart at the firm's Auckland headquarters and asked whether the price he paid for the rugby rights was enough to hurt.
We've made sure that we've cemented a really good partnership with New Zealand Rugby for the next 6 years, but 5 years after the one we already have. We've made sure that we have enhanced our relationship with them so that we're working together in a true partnership, and we're very pleased with the deal.
Did you crack the 400 million mark?
We never talk about how much rights actually cost us. People do speculate in the press all the time about how much things
And
are.
That's the number obviously being speculated about, isn't it?
Know,
so how close is the speculation?
As I say, we never talk about it one way or the other, because once I say yes or no to anything, then we'll be answering that question forevermore. The rights have materially increased, but that's something that we expected within our forecast and within our planning.
So, on that note, what do you regard as a material increase? Like 10% increase, 20% in cost?
Well, I'm not going to be able to answer the question, no matter how many different ways you keep asking it, but look, we're very comfortable with what we've done, with what we've paid. We have a very keen understanding of how much a particular right is worth to us, and we formulated our plans around what we thought would have to be a material increase for rugby, and we're delighted with where we've ended up after the 7 months of work that we've put into the various renewals that we've gone through.
So New Zealand Rugby has said this morning that the equity part of the deal was its idea. Was 5% what they came to you with first off, or were they after a bit more?
I think that we had a range of discussions around what the deal might look like, not just from an equity point of view, but from a rights fee point of view. We're actually very interested and very excited about the idea of...
But did you negotiate them down? Did they come asking for a bigger chunk of the pie in terms of equity?
That's the way these things always work, is that everybody...
So how much more were they after?
It doesn't really matter.
Oh, it does. It's interesting.
No, it doesn't really matter. No, I think the important thing is that actually from our point of view, having them as a shareholder is a good idea. We're very pleased about it because it actually cements us together in a partnership in a way that is fairly, I think it is truly unique in the world of sports and broadcasting.
So do you anticipate that there will be more deals that involve equity?
No, I don't. No, I think that from the point of view of New Zealand sport, rugby is clearly the premier sport in the country. It has a very unique position within the psyche of New Zealanders. I think it was appropriate for us to do the deal that we've done.
So only for the top shelf then, only for rugby equity you were prepared to give up?
I don't see that it's a relevant discussion for other sports. We are very, very pleased with the other relationships that we have. We make sure that we look at those relationships and make sure that we are giving value to the particular sports code.
But could New Zealand Rugby come back for a bit more next time round? Could that still be on the table, more equity with future deals to New Zealand Rugby?
I think that what we're looking at is an overall package of what we've put on the table for New Zealand Rugby. How we develop together over the next 6 years remains to be seen. I think that we have a bright future together. I think that our investment in New Zealand Rugby will enable the sport to grow, to have greater levels of engagement, participation and viewership, and that will benefit both of us.
Who needed who more in this, do you think?
I think that this was a true meeting of equals, in the sense that we are together stronger. New Zealand Rugby and Sky have been partners for nearly 25 years.
Hang on, so let me put it another way. One without the other, would they fail?
I don't think it's a question of failing. I think it's a question that 1 and 1 equals 3. And I think that's the point of it. Together we are better.
So you talk about new initiatives and growing the game. What are we going to see in that space?
We're going to do a lot of work with New Zealand Rugby on schools participation, communities, clubs, growing the women's game, boys and girls and different forms of the game to try and make sure that overall engagement and participation in rugby, in all forms of rugby, will grow throughout New Zealand.
Yeah, because some people would say the deal is the easy bit of it. Making it pay is the hard bit.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
How are you going to make it pay?
Exactly what I said to my executive team this morning, which is that this is just the beginning of our journey to where we want to take this company.
So how are you going to make it pay? Are you going to change your structure in any way, your subscriptions? Are you going to diversify? How?
The answer is all of those.
Can you give us some specifics?
Well, the first one that we've done is of Rugby Pass, which has allowed us to have the possibility of growing outside of New Zealand. So we have alternate revenue streams than we have today, and we are exposed to rugby fans on a global basis. We're also looking at what we can do to diversify our revenues in New Zealand, and we're also going to have a very good hard look at all aspects of our operation.
Does that include charging people less for sports subscriptions?
I think what it does is it includes the possibility of raising our game across all levels of our operation and how we actually interact with customers, how we provide value to them. Price is only part of that component.
But people will be interested on that because can you appreciate, obviously there has been difficulties with Rugby World Cup coverage, much discussed, but a lot of people feel they've had a rough deal from Sky on price. So, do you see any movement there?
I think we've already taken quite a few significant steps in the last 7 months to try and make the service affordable to a wider range of New Zealanders. We will continue that work. We're focusing on the value that we actually provide to people rather than just a simple price. I think that people are less worried about how much they pay rather than the actual value that they get. Having said that, I've travelled around this country quite extensively, and I'm very well aware of the realities of life for lots of people, and if I wasn't, I have the benefit of lots of letters from people explaining that reality to me. So we take that on board.
For sport is what per month, price-wise?
If you want to take our streaming service on a 12-month basis, it's $40 a month, so $39.99. If you're looking at a DTH service, the basic plus sport is $57 at the moment. We are looking to see how we can provide access to our service in a broader range of ways that work for everybody.
And in a cheaper range of ways. If you want to diversify, if you want to get to the grassroots, if you want to get to some of the more isolated and poorer parts of our country, some would argue you've got to work on the price. Is it going to happen?
It's part of the equation and it's part of the process that we've got to go through. But we do have to be realistic. We are running a business. As you've seen today, sports codes would like to have more investment into their sport. They need it in order to grow. That's the economic reality. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that we are running a business. So it's about working through everything as a package to try and make sure that we can provide the best service possible to New Zealanders.
So in terms of losing the cricket, how do you feel about that?
We're extremely disappointed to have lost the cricket rights. We're extremely pleased and proud to still have the ICC, the IPL, the overseas tours of the Black Caps, the Australian Big Bash League, the iconic Boxing Day tests that are coming up this summer, and for the next 5 or 6 years, Australian cricket, and of course the Caribbean Premier League.
So
that's a huge range of cricket that we can still continue to provide to our customers. We're very disappointed that New Zealand Cricket decided to go with a different partner based on the offer that was in front of them. I cannot be surprised that they turned down that amount of cash. We went to the limit and beyond as to what that deal was worth to us.
So it wasn't an issue of how deep your pockets were. You went as deep as you could with that offer. It wasn't like you were holding back in order to seal the rugby rights.
We bid what it was worth, and we got beaten by a good margin, and that's a great result for New Zealand cricket, and we obviously wish them well.
So is competition working for the consumer then, I wonder, because now they will need a couple of subscriptions to watch the cricket, and you guys are pushing the prices up, aren't you? By competing against each other.
I don't think we're pushing prices up. Quite the reverse. I mean, the only things that we've done since I've been here is actually reduce prices and make it more broadly accessible for New Zealand.
I mean paying for rights, because you're competing to pay for rights.
Oh, absolutely, yes, pushing up the price of rights, absolutely, yeah, totally.
So is competition working out for the consumer then?
That's the difficult question. Obviously, it is a sad fact that if people want to watch all forms of cricket, then they are going to have to take 2 subscriptions. That's not something that I would wish for, but that's the reality of where we are.
Hey, we're getting the wrap-up call, so just very quickly, are you the home of sport, or just the home of some sport?
I think we're the home of sport. I think that if you look at the depth and breadth of the sport that we have compared to any comparable service on a global basis, then we are most definitely the home of sport.
And that's the Sky TV CEO, Martin Stewart.